And now, joining us here in our studios is Saurabh Uboweja, founder, CEO, and chief brand strategist at Brands of Desire. Saurabh, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on World is One. I'm going to ask you a really simple question. Look at that. Can the information that, if I went and to a store yesterday, to a mall and bought an H&M jacket, can it tell people as to which way I'm going to vote in the upcoming elections?
Well, this is a pretty interesting question. So while you cannot really, estimate which way you're going to be swaying just based on what you purchased last evening, but if H&M was, seeking more specific information about, how you made your purchase, and that information was probably usable, on a social media platform in some way or the other. And if there was a platform like Cambridge Analytica in this case, asking you certain specific questions which were probably pertaining to your personality attributes in the disguise of a quiz, which everybody wants to take these days, what's my digital style or what's my personality style. And if by chance I do answer that, H&M is my preferred brand, maybe because I purchased it yesterday, then for sure it is sending a signal of, which way I could sway in terms of my personality attributes that probably match to the H&M brand. To some extent, there is some correlation that a brand marketer would want to make, and then probably run a campaign that can sway the...
So this works both ways, right? As far as from the brand marketing perspective, that tells you what kind of, products that you like. So that can be used by companies to target you in terms of, that will tell you your age profile, etc., etc.
Oh, for sure.
Apart from that, what's the more that we know that happens already, because our social media timelines tell us that story. Invariably, we're prompted about things that that we already have on our mind about. But this is even more serious. We're talking about influencing elections based on my choice of shoes.
Yeah, well, so it's not unusual. Let's understand where this all emanates from. For any marketing strategy to be created, somewhere you need to segment your customers, right? And how do you segment your customers? At the end of the day, you've got to understand who your customers are, what their fashion choices are, what their lifestyle choices are.
So we make it sound so matter of fact, as if it's a done thing, because it has been a done thing, because these revelations that have come out is the fact that this was not done now. This has been being done for the last few years.
Yeah, so what needs to be understood is that segmenting itself is not unethical, but if you're collecting information in the disguise of making a consumer feel that, he's part of some quiz contest or, and he's completely gullible to the idea of giving that information, not being aware how it's going to be used is unethical. And in that sense, to sway the elections in a particular direction because of segmentation is not unethical, but collecting data in an unethical way to segment the customers is certainly unethical.
So, which basically means that it's not wrong if I'm being judged on the basis of what brands of clothes or shoes that I buy. The question is, what are you using that judgment for, and how are you using that judgment for?
And how are you
whether with my
the
consent
data?
Or not in the first place.
Absolutely, yes. In this case, there is no consent. So let's take another example. While today we are talking about social media as a source of data collection or digital as a source of data collection, but I don't know if you're aware, but credit card companies have been doing that now for decades. They study your shopping behavior, they're able to actually assess based on what you purchased, and they can actually recommend solutions to you, products to you, and I'm not quite sure if they actually end up using that data to for any other purpose. I wouldn't be in a position to comment on that.
One can never be sure of that, can we?
But they have access,
Oh, they have access, and that's the reason why we're having this conversation, how much access they have and how much people need to be aware of what kind of access that people have. So, almost nothing on your timeline is there luck by chance. It's not there as incidental. They're there because people know who you are, what you've been wanting of late, and they're there to give you more of that.
Yes, and what's really interesting is that, as customers, we feel that we're using a platform like Facebook or Instagram free of cost. But we don't know is that we're still being sold, and there are ways in which these platforms monetize us as consumers using our data, sometimes without our consent. Sometimes the mediums themselves are not aware how other organizations are using their platforms to mine data to probably misuse, in one way or the other.
Speaking of Instagram and influencers, time now to put the focus on one who just got married, and she spoke exclusively with the Z Network. Priyanka Chopra speaking about work-life balance right after her wedding to American pop sensation Nick Jonas. Listen in.
Well, I think मेरे लिए मेरी priorities बहुत simple हैं और clear हैं. मेरा commitment था बम्बल के साथ to come to India in December before I decided to get married. तो मैंने decision लिया शादी करने का, उसका इनका तो कोई fault नहीं था. So that's why, one. And second, it's really something I believe in. And Nick and me both, our work has been very important to us all our lives. And our work has been something that has been a solid foundation for both of us. So we both understand that, you know, we can prioritize things. And we'll take a honeymoon next year, next month or something. Because I feel like the modern Indian woman today wants to have her future in her own hands. The choices of her future in her own hands. We've been told for a very, very long time how our life should be. But now I feel like the modern urban Indian woman today is saying, yes, that's how my life should be, but I also want to do this. मुझे stereotypes से नफरत है. I hate stereotypes. I hate being put in stereotypes. I hate people being put in stereotypes because stereotypes are lazy, basically. You are lazy to get to know something different. You're not curious to get to know something different. I love life. I love the opportunities that life gives to those people who are hungry, who are passionate, and I am that person. So if someone stereotypes me, even like when I went to America for that matter, बहुत बार मेरे साथ भी हुआ कि, you know, I was expected to speak a little bit like this, you know, and I mean, everyone doesn't speak like that. And I hated that that's the only way people saw us. And many other little stereotypes that happened along the way, and the ones that we have for women in our country ourselves, that, you know, a woman's career when she's in her 30s is like, nahi ho, you know, she's too old, whereas a guy can work till he's 55, 60 as a romantic lead. Now these are all like barriers that have been set in people's heads because we are lazy to break them. But in the last decade, look at the amount of women that are the faces on a poster. So many women, Kangana, Vidya, Deepika, Katrina, Alia, like I can name so many women, Anushka, who have been a part of that brigade that brings change in the entertainment business and have brought finances in. Not just that they've done female-led films, but the money has come in. So I'm saying this is a time of change, and I love that change. When I did fashion, like, how many years ago? Was that 10, 12 years ago? So many people told me that, you know, women do films like this at the end of their careers, and they should, you know, not right now, and it doesn't matter. The point is, we need to stop caring about what people say. We need to stop caring about what people will think. Who are these people?
Now, rising tensions between Russia and Ukraine near the Crimean Peninsula have hit a number of industries. One major victim is the tourism industry. That's right, Crimea is the hub of many resorts and tourists flock to it all the time. But not now. World is One's Sumit Chaturvedi reports from Crimea. Take a look.
George is one of the very few English-speaking people you'll meet in Crimea. He's a guide, and English helps him navigate his clients through the city on the Black Sea coast. But his language skill is getting wasted these days. The Ukraine-Russia face-off is keeping foreign tourists away, and with winter approaching, domestic tourists too are venturing out of this region.
When politics begin to press on rest, it's very bad, understand? And here are the same. Influence, yes, political events influence for rest.
Crimea has a long history associated with the Second World War. In fact, in this palace in Yalta, the important decisions regarding Second World War were taken. Here Lenin, Churchill, they all came together and discussed the important aspects of the Second World War. This palace is situated next to the Black Sea that makes it very unique and beautiful.
Apart from beaches and mountains, Crimea is famous for its palaces, including this Lavidia Palace in Yalta. The summer palace was designed in Italian style and ended up being the last residence of the Russian imperial family, the Romanovs. In 1861, Tsar Alexander II bought land in Lavidia and had the Grand Palace built there as a gift to his wife. It was the site of many significant events such as the Yalta Conference, where leaders of the Allied forces met in 1945. The Vorontsov Palace in Alupka is also popular among tourists. Situated near the town of Alupka, it is one of the oldest and largest palaces in Crimea and also one of the most popular tourist attractions on Crimea's southern coast. Hitler wanted this palace for himself after winning Russia in Second World War, and so the German army didn't touch the palace. Tourists face problem as foreign registered SIMs don't work in Crimea. They have to transact in cash as foreign cards are not accepted by machines. Till tensions die down and problems such as these are solved, it's gloomy days for tourism industry in Crimea. With Sumit Chaturvedi in Crimea, Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.